Hello everyone, Kier here, and welcome to the InfiNOT podcast. I'm focused on the casual nature of the game, and each week I discuss the new patch, the new card, and my feelings on the game. Let's hop into it. So, this week and next week, and maybe the next couple of weeks, are going to be slower, because these, second dinner team is taking their vacation time, but there's still things that we can talk about. We're lucky that this week we have Deadpool's Diner coming out with a new card that you can get, and the Fenris Wolf was also released. So obviously the new card Fenris Wolf is I will say definitely not as explosive in terms of its play rate as I thought it would be, but it's still really, really cool. I really like the card. It's a 2/3 that says activate. Resurrect your opponent's highest power discarded or destroyed card on your side of this location. This is really impactful because the most obvious combo with this is Shang-Chi, right? You Shang-Chi like a Cold Obsidian, you use Fenris Wolf, you bring it back. But this card also has a ton of uses outside of that. On certain locations, like when people throw away cards into Altar of Death, you get those. If you're playing against a Hela deck, you can steal their InfiNOT or something like that. If you're playing against a discard deck, sometimes you will get some of their cards. But, even better than all of that, this card is increasing the play rate of cards that we haven't seen in a while, like Black Bolt and Stature, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, Gladiator. All of these cards that have, had their ups and downs have a really cool deck with Fenris. You can just run it down with those cards and have a pretty decent amount of success. In terms of the statistics, I think this card is doing pretty okay as well. I think there's a 54% or 53% win rate, which is good. Yeah, I think that this card... What surprises me about it the most is that it's a 2/3. For the amount of power that you can get, it's pretty nuts. I think the reason why maybe they felt like this has to be a 2/3 is because, it's activate, so there's obviously a lot of downsides with that. And there's a lot of work you have to do on your end to make sure that you activate Fenris Wolf, right? You have to play either very specific cards or get very lucky. So... overall, really like Fenris Wolf. I run it in a deck with Negasonic Teenage Warhead, Black Bolt and Stature, that whole shebang. I'll go ahead and read out the list just in case you're interested. I've been having a lot of success with it. I call it Spicy Sushi. I don't know why, but I've been naming my decks after food recently. My standard good cards list is called Oatmeal. But anyway, Spicy Sushi has Echo, Hydra Bob, Medusa, Fenris Wolf, Kate Bishop, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, Gladiator, Shang-Chi, Omega Red, Gwenpool, Black Bolt, and Stature. And in a deck like this, right, I have not one, not two, but 4 activators for Fenris Wolf, right? With Gladiator and Shang-Chi and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, you're destroying stuff, and then with Black Bolt, you can discard something. And this is really powerful. I have had a pretty successful run with this list. Right now I'm going 10-4, which is pretty good. Not bad at all. However, I will say, I don't think this is the optimal list. I'm sure someone out there has just found the most busted Omega broken list that they could think of. But I like this list, right? Hydra Bob and Medusa can really help you get priority early. And then Negasonic, Gladiator, Shang-Chi, those are all really great cards, depending on the matchup. And, Gwenpool and Omega Red are really surprising cards in here. Not a lot of people are expecting the Omega Red to come out, but it helps, fill out your board a bit, and the Gwenpool can help, make your Stature bigger, make your Black Bolt bigger, make these cards a little bit more impactful in the lanes that you play them, so it activates your Omega Red, you're keeping priority for your Negasonic Teenage Warhead. All of these things are great. So anyway, that's enough rambling about Fenris. I really like the card, TLDR. Next up, we get to talk about King Eitri. Or is it Eitri? One of the two. King Eitri. He's a 1/2 that says activate. Draw a card from your deck that didn't start there. The most obvious pairing, and it's pretty lore accurate, is you put this in the Thor's deck, right? You have Beta Ray Bill and Thor that give the hammers into your deck. You can pull them back with King Eitri, maybe copy it with a Frigga, or, reactivate them again with Odin. All of that stuff. And genuinely, this is a great card in that list. I think that if you like the Thor's deck, you need to get this card, whether it's from Deadpool's Diner or just by buying it. Like, it seems like it's pretty amazing in that list. I've seen some experimentation with this in, like, Arishem and Thanos, but I don't think it's gonna stick there very long. Because, like, yeah, it's neat. It's pretty cool. But it's a hard sell, because with Arishem, sure, you're getting an extra card draw, but you could also just put a card that would be impactful for you to draw, right? It's sort of like the Howard the Duck argument. In Thanos, I do think that it has a place. It's sort of like a surrogate Mind Stone, right? Like it's like adding another stone, but you get a little bit more consistency. I don't hate the idea of it in Thanos, but again, you might want to think about, like, adding more impactful cards. Like, you could replace that with Nova and add a Killmonger, and boom, you have a pretty crazy death line. But I don't know. I'm not an expert on the Thanos list, but King Eitri seems like a very solid activate card. I'd say, like, at least in the top 5. Yeah, it's gotta be. And last but not least, I just want to take a moment to talk about the Deadpool's Diner 2, that has all of the, Thanksgiving-ish foods presented there. I mean, look, I said it last time that Deadpool's Diner was around, but as somebody that doesn't have all the time in the world, I don't think I'm gonna get the full track rewards. I'm still playing through it, but I think I finally come around to the idea that I just don't like the gameplay loop. When I'm playing Marvel Snap, I'm one of those players that loves playing to their outs. I've sort of explained this before on why I like good cards lists so much, right? You have the tools to technically win almost any game that you come across. You just really need to find the lines. Sometimes you don't, and those are pretty obvious when you retreat, but a lot of the time, you can take a risk, and you can make a play, and sometimes you'll win. And that feels so exciting to me. The problem with Deadpool's Diner is that it incentivizes the exact opposite thinking. You have to get your lines. You have to retreat when you know you're not going to win, right? Like, and even not just know that you're not going to win, but if you have a high likelihood of not winning, you should dip. And, like, I know that this is going to sound like the most obvious thing to people who play Snap religiously. I know. Technically, that works the same on ladder. You're supposed to leave when you have a high chance of not winning. But that's not the kind of player I am. And it's part of the reason that this is called the InfiNOT podcast. I like piecing together wins. It makes me feel smart. I don't know if it is smart. It's probably not. But it's what I enjoy. So this game mode is so antithetical to that. I can't really find myself enjoying it very much. The rewards, I will say, this time around are, like, just as good, if not better. Like, I like the track on this one. It's really, really great. Even just getting, like, the couple of copper borders was awesome. I threw one of them on my Heimdall, and he looks great. The border matches his logo really, really well, so I'm cool with that. And of course, it also gives you, like, some credits and some boosters and some other stuff too. So it's really solid. And obviously, the best benefit of a mode like this is that it's free. Right? Like, you can play as much as you want until you run out of bubs, and then you can try again later. And if you get lucky enough, and you're playing a deck maybe like Mr. Negative, you can just snap, and then if you lose, you try again until you get it right. So there is a strategy with Deadpool's Diner that I think is successful, and maybe I should just adopt that and just think of it as, like, I need to get to the rewards. But as a game mode, I'm not a fan. This last part of Deadpool's Diner that I want to talk about is sort of I've seen a lot of sentiment around the game, with modes like this that say that the game is dying. Like, we want permanent modes in the game that are going to shake things up, and I know that people are a little less confident in these limited time modes. But I just wanted to say that, games like this come and go a lot. Like, there's a lot of games that don't find the success that they need, and they're shelved. But I don't think Marvel Snap is one of those. I know that with the Pokemon Pocket TCG coming out, and there's a couple of other like short, fast card games that are going to be released over the next couple of years, it feels like Marvel Snap doesn't have a lot of legroom. But I think it needs the competition. It's going to get better. This is Second Dinner's only game right now, and seeing as it's their best way to make money, they're going to try to make it successful in whatever way they need to. They're going to try to toe the line in whatever fashion they feel works, and they're going to continue to pump out content. If there's one thing that you can be grateful for, it's that we get new stuff every week. There's some pros and cons to this game. I've struggled sometimes keeping up with it, and I think the biggest thing that they can do to make this game feel better is by, rewarding players for coming back to the game. If you take a break from Marvel Snap, which is a healthy thing to do, right? It can sometimes feel like you're being punished for it because you need to be on the hamster wheel in order to get the resources to get new cards. And there's a certain extent where you would say, okay, well then they should just offer more bundles that are going to, help you progress. And that would be great if the prices in this game weren't so exorbitant. Like, genuinely, you could spend $500 in this game, and it wouldn't really feel like you progressed all that much, right? Like, you would certainly get a lot of stuff from buying, like, the Pro Bundle, and, maybe buying a huge, like, Apocalypse Bundle, like, back in the day, maybe. But, like, all of that money doesn't really translate to, like, a whole deck of cards. It might get you pretty close to feeling secure. Maybe you can ride that out over the next couple of months, but it really doesn't get you that far. I really wish that they just had a system where if you take a break from the game, let's say it's time gated to a month, or maybe there's a scale that goes up the longer you're away, that when you jump back in, you have the ability to say, oh, these new cards came out, I want to build a deck with those, let me do it. The problem is that we're dealing with a company that really feels like they don't want you to have all the cards. So, I don't know. I'm rambling a bit here, but I just wanted to say, I don't think all hope is lost. I think there's a way for them to make the game feel better for returning players. And for newer players, I feel like there's a lot more that they could do. But for those of us who are, close to collection complete, I'm probably 12, 13 cards away. The game feels bad because every time I open a spotlight, I'm getting cards that I already own. But for new players, I don't think it's actually that bad. I think that if you're like coming out of Series 3, you're feeling pretty alright about it. But maybe that's only because I'm playing against other people who also have all the cards. So it's hard to say. I would just say keep, your fingers crossed. I feel like there's a chance that this game can really shine. It's almost there. It just needs to work out how to take care of players who want to take a break. I think that's the biggest thing that they could do, because the hamster wheel burns you out very quickly. With all that being said, I want to thank you for listening. Please rate this podcast if you haven't already. It does help me. And if there's one thing that you can remember, it's that I am InfiNOT. Thanks for listening.